But in the wake of last night's sentencing statement from special counsel Robert Mueller about Trump National Security Advisor Mike Flynn, the sentencing statement which featured the special counsel praising Flynn's cooperation and recommending that Flynn serve no jail time. Today, in the wake of that remarkable document, which came out just before we got on the air last night, today we have had another couple of stories that would seem to indicate that there are another few shoes that are going to drop soon. One concerns this person, who appears to have been the first ever person to get Donald Trump, the presidential candidate, to talk on the record about U.S. sanctions against Russia and the fact that he wanted them dropped.
Okay, let's go.
Sorry?
Yes, ma'am.
From Russia. So my question will be about foreign politics.
Okay.
If you would be elected as a president, what will be your foreign politics, especially in the relationships with my country? And do you want to continue the politics of sanctions that are damaging of both economy, or you have any other ideas?
I believe I would get along very nicely with Putin, okay? And I mean where we have the strength. I don't think you'd need the sanctions. I think that we would get along very, very well. I really believe that.
First time he ever talked about sanctions. And we now know, of course, that at the time Donald Trump, presidential candidate, was advocating publicly that the U.S. should drop sanctions on Russia. We now know that at the time he was secretly negotiating with Russia for a very large real estate deal in Moscow that would be financed by a sanctioned Russian state-run bank. So, as a presidential candidate, we know that Donald Trump was compromised by Russia. He was secretly negotiating with Russia, including secretly negotiating with Kremlin officials about doing this deal. He was concealing that fact from the American people, and for good reason, right? That would have put quite a spin on the fact that he was arguing against Russian sanctions. If people had known that he personally needed to get rid of those sanctions so he could get his Trump Tower in Moscow with financing from a sanctioned Russian bank. The reason that deal was more than just a secret, though, the reason that created a sort of counterintelligence emergency around Trump, the candidate, is because the Russian government knew that Trump was lying about this to the American people. And once they knew that he was trying to cover this thing up, that they knew something about him, they knew the truth about something, they could prove the truth about something that he was trying to keep secret, well, then they can use that as leverage over him to pressure him into doing things that he wanted. That's what compromise is. He was compromised by the Russian government during the campaign. We now know. And one of the things, of course, that they wanted, that the Russian government wanted then and desperately wants still now, is for the U.S. government to drop sanctions on their country. And looking back at that first comment that Trump ever made about Russian sanctions, it is now just remarkably striking that the person who first set him up as a presidential candidate, who first asked him that question about U.S. sanctions against Russia, who first prompted him to say that he wanted those sanctions dropped, that person is a person who is now in federal custody in Alexandria, Virginia, awaiting trial on charges that she was secretly acting in this country as an agent of the Russian government. That's the person who asked Trump that question at that Las Vegas event in the summer of 2015. Her name is Maria Butina, and one of the other shoes that we've been waiting to drop any day now is in her criminal case. A potential plea deal, maybe? Or some other resolution of the criminal case that is pending against her. Again, she is in jail awaiting trial on federal charges of being a secret Russian agent operating in this country. Now, a couple of weeks ago, prosecutors filed this document with the federal court that's hearing the case against Maria Butina, explaining that they were in negotiations with Butina's lawyers regarding, quote, a potential resolution of this matter. Now, we had otherwise expected Butina to be in court in Washington tomorrow for an important status update on her case. That has now been delayed because of these supposedly ongoing negotiations between the prosecution and her defense lawyers about somehow resolving her case. We don't have any idea what that ultimate resolution might be if, in fact, they do resolve it. I mean, obviously, the Justice Department has indicted her, they've arrested her, they've put her in jail, they plan to put her on trial. It is possible that the resolution of this case will be some sort of plea deal where she pleads guilty to something in exchange for lenience in other ways. That would raise the very interesting prospect of her potentially becoming a cooperating witness for prosecutors in the Russia investigation. That's very hard to imagine, given that she's charged as a secret agent of the Russian government, but you never know. Some observers have even speculated that Maria Butina might possibly have her case resolved as part of a spy swap of some kind with the Russian government. And the Kremlin has taken a very keen interest in the Maria Butina case. They have done lots of publicity around it, lots of advocacy around it. They have been very, very active, both publicly advocating and advocating with the U.S. government on her behalf. I don't know what they're offering the U.S. government on her behalf. I don't know if the U.S. government is in the market for any sort of spy swap with Russians at the moment, but it is not impossible to imagine that Maria Butina's case might be resolved with something dramatic like that. So we've been waiting to find out, basically any day now, what's going to happen to this accused Russian foreign agent now that federal prosecutors say they are heading toward a resolution of her case. Well, while we have been waiting for that to happen, today, Betsy Woodruff and Aaron Banko at the Daily Beast have reported that another person in her case, an American who is named in her case, has been warned himself by prosecutors that he might get charged in this case too. He's an American citizen. His name is Paul Erickson. He's a longtime Republican Party activist. He's also possibly the boyfriend of Maria Butina, accused Russian agent, although it's complicated. According to the Daily Beast today, Paul Erickson has received a target letter from federal prosecutors in which prosecutors notify him, quote, that they are considering bringing charges against him under Section 951 of the U.S. Code, which is the law barring people from secretly acting as agents of foreign governments. The letter also says the government may bring a conspiracy charge against Erickson. Now, according to the Daily Beast, again, this report just out today, this target letter was sent to Paul Erickson a couple of months ago, in September, but his lawyer has now shown it to these reporters. And while a target letter is not the same thing as an indictment, him receiving a target letter indicates that prosecutors have been seriously considering bringing charges against him or moving in some way toward charges against him. In his case, for also serving as a secret foreign agent working on behalf of Russia and against the United States, just like his ersatz girlfriend. And you know, this is not totally a surprise. In the Justice Department's court filings for its charges against Maria Butina, this guy, Paul Erickson, does turn up multiple times when the government is describing her alleged crimes and how she went about this scheme to influence the U.S., to influence the U.S. government, the Republican Party, and the conservative movement in this country on behalf of Russia. He's described as person number one in the court filings, as best as we can tell. From her court filings, quote, during the course of her, this is prosecutors, quote, during the course of her work, meaning Butina's work, as a covert Russian agent, Butina regularly met and communicated with an unnamed Russian official and U.S. person one, this guy Paul Erickson, quote, to plan and develop the contours of the influence operation. There's also this, quote, on October 4th, 2016, so a month before the election, U.S. person one, Paul Erickson, sent an email to an acquaintance. Within the email, Erickson stated, unrelated to specific presidential campaigns, I've been involved in securing a, all caps, very private line of communication between the Kremlin and key Republican Party leaders through, of all conduits, the NRA. So again, U.S. Republican activist Paul Erickson is now reported as of today to have received a target letter from U.S. federal prosecutors, letting him know that federal prosecutors have moved toward considering charges against him for operating as a secret agent of a foreign government, which appears to be the Russian government. Now, a target letter isn't the same as an indictment, but if the government either has already charged him, and we don't know about it publicly, but if they have already charged him, or if they are planning on bringing those charges against Erickson, that will be a very interesting new development in the Maria Butina case, which I'm interested in for a lot of reasons, but in particular because of the way it links back to the president and his first public comments about Russian sanctions. But if Erickson either has been or is about to be charged, there's also the NRA piece of it. This may finally throw some sunlight on this dark and frankly sort of worrying question that has lingered since the campaign, certainly since Maria Butina was charged, as to whether or not the NRA, the National Rifle Association, may have been used as some sort of conduit for Russian government influence, Russian secret communications, or even potentially Russian money in the operation by the Russian government to try to swing the U.S. presidential election for Trump and against Clinton. So that dropped today with that important report in the Daily Beast about Paul Erickson getting a targeting letter from federal prosecutors. I swear this is not a stunt. I swear I did not know this was going to happen. I did not plan this. I swear. But just in the past few minutes, just moments ago, literally while I was talking on the TV machine about the Maria Butina case, and how we're expecting any day now to find out what's going to happen to her case, because prosecutors and her defense lawyers told the court that they've been working toward a resolution of her case of some kind. Like, is there going to be, leading to speculation, is there going to be a plea deal? Is she going to become a cooperating witness? Could there be some sort of spy swap? What could be the resolution of the Maria Butina case as she is in jail awaiting charges right now, or in jail, charged, awaiting trial right now on charges that she has been operating as a secret agent of the Russian government in this country. Literally, while I was saying that just moments ago, we just got a new court filing in the Maria Butina case, in which, can we put it up? In which the judge in her case, just this second, has just scheduled a telephone conference for the prosecution and the defense to join the judge tomorrow at 11 a.m. Again, this comes as prosecutors and defense lawyers say they have been actively negotiating to resolve this case. Maybe they're going to do it on the phone tomorrow. But that happened while I was talking about it. Maybe the judge was watching. She saw me start to talk about it and said, oh, yeah, we need to have that. I doubt it.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.